How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about To Me, the One Who Loved You. I recently talked about To Every You I've Loved Before, and now I'm going to be talking about the second movie in the installment. I'm pretty sure they do come out first that one, and then second this one. But I'm not exactly sure, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but this is the way that I watched it, and the way that I found to be the best form of watching it. Okay, so I already explained in the previous episode about the first movie, about what happened. So let's go a bit into this one, what happens on this one, and a bit of thoughts about the movie. In this movie, he chooses his father instead of his mother, and so now the story is very different to what we understand. His father is a scientist, so he spends a lot more time in the lab instead of being with his mother and with his family and focusing a lot more on school. He's a lot more into the sciences, and this movie really has a longer first act than the first one. The first one had a shorter first act to get to a longer second act, which is when they meet each other in the school. That's when like the second act really starts to happen. In this one, you get that dynamic first. He meets this girl. Let's go, before I go into this movie, again, like the previous one, I do have to give a spoiler warning just because I am gonna go heavily into spoilers, but just because I need to explain the movie before I explain some of the more difficult concepts that this movie does entail. So he meets this girl who is gonna end up being the ghost girl later on. Right now she's not a ghost, so everything is fine. And basically they really match on a lot of things. His grandpa's dog recently died. He went to go see it, and that's exactly where like they kind of combine, because whenever the other character's grandpa dies, he goes into a world where his grandpa's alive, but the dog died. And in this world, his dog died, so now he goes into a world where his dog is alive, but his grandpa died. So it's a loop. It's a loop. You're gonna see a lot of that in this video just because they try to connect it in that way. So he decides to use an ability of being able to like really harness this, being able to go into different dimensions a lot easier than other people. A lot of people, it happens randomly. Him, if he wants something hard enough, he'll be able to be transported into that different universe, and that's exactly what happens right now. He gets transported into that different universe and then sees that, oh, my grandpa is dead, but my dog is alive. I'm living with my mom and my grandma. Why am I mad? And it goes a bit into like the funeral service of his grandpa, and those emotional moments that did hit in the first movie are present in the second movie. Then he comes back and then he's like, okay, you helped me with my thing, now what do you want? He asks the girl, and then the girl says, you know what, I want to go into a world where my parents aren't divorced. But then that's when they realize that he has this special ability to make it easier, and she really doesn't. They kind of give up on that because they realize like what they have in a way, and like their goals are a lot more, let's be together, let's stay together, and eventually develop a romantic interest for one another. Or I think that the romantic interest was there from the very beginning, but I just think that this is really where that storyline starts to get fleshed out and really starts to arc and become what it does later on in the movie. Like I said, this has a way longer first act. To me, this is where the first act really like starts to kind of like change into the second act. Where the first act starts to change into the second act is when they decide to run away because they find out that their parents are going to marry each other, and so then it would make them step siblings, and then that would be weird. So the fact that they're going to be step siblings is a big no-no for them, and so they decide, hey, you know what we can do? We can run away to a different universe. Really weird because they can't really sustain it for that long. Run away to a different universe where we are together and we don't have to worry about like being adults or doing this and doing that. So their plan is pretty simple. Go into a different universe and let's find each other there. Let's set this location and do this and do that. Upon going into this different world, the protagonist realizes that his parents are still together. he finds this to be extremely strange because they got divorced at the beginning of the movie with the whole scene of do you pick A, do you pick B, what happens if you pick A, where do you go, and why do our choices matter as much as they do? Those were the choices that he made, but now being with his parents together, it's a strange feeling. But he's this like all business mindset, like, hey, I said I was gonna come meet her, I gotta go. And upon running, he kind of like slips back into like our regular world because it shows what is going on with her. With her, what happens is she's in the middle of a crosswalk and sees her parents together. What she wanted all along was right in front of her. What she wanted was there all along, so she goes in, so she basically runs into traffic, gets ran over, and that's where Act 2 really begins for the movie. When Act 2 begins, you have a lot more of a stressed out storyline where the protagonist has to find a way to regain his love and regain his life back, basically. What he's been trying to do all this time is, first it was fall in love and be together, and now it's find a way to get her back. A lot happens. He goes and becomes a scientist and basically goes throughout his life like he does in other movies, but with a different goal in mind. He still meets who's his future wife in different iterations of the character, but in this one he doesn't really care about her. Well, he does care about her, let's be a bit loose when I say that. What I mean is he doesn't care about her in the romantic sense that A, she cares for him, and B, he's a lot more interested in a different character. He's not interested in the person that's supposed to be his wife, but she's interested in him. So she goes blindly and just helps him do all of this insanity. And basically what ends up happening is he starts diverting funds from the company, illegal thing to do, but he starts diverting funds to go and explore time travel. If he's able to do time travel, then he's able to go back in time and make sure that they don't meet. By them not meeting, then she doesn't ever end up on that crosswalk, because I don't really know why she wouldn't end up on that crosswalk if her goal was to meet her parents. But he attributes that a lot to him allowing her to want to do that, and allowing her to have that feeling of this necessity to go into the different world and be together with her parents. So now what we're basically racing against is, will his plan work? And yes, he ends up figuring out how to do time travel, and the way that he figures it out is just through having a conversation with this girl. They talk about bubbles, and then he's like, oh wait, if you use the bubbles, and a bunch of random science shit. The movie then forwards into like whenever he's old and actually developing his plan. So what he goes and does is, first he goes and talks to the ghost, because whenever she dies, her consciousness is like still projected in the street that she died. And so he's basically just like gone and been like a crazy man, just screaming at the crosswalk the entire time. And people just walk around and look at him like a crazy dude, just sobbing there and promising that he's gonna get her back, because no one else can see her. That's only him and the future wife in the different universe. It's super weird, and I completely understand that, but she's the only other person that can see her. That's what really makes him be able to trust her. The fact that she can see her is like, hey, there's something else going on and something that we need to figure out. So his idea is basically, I'm gonna go back in time. I'm gonna make sure that you and I never meet. And the ghost couldn't handle that. She's like, the happiest moments of my life were when you were there. So I don't want to be in a world where we're not together. And it makes a lot of sense if you look at how the movies progress, because basically she was only there because he needed her to be there, because her body had died long before he was still seeing her. So in that case, he's like, okay, you know what? If you absolutely need to meet me and see what I'm doing in my life, then what we'll do is we'll meet here in 66 years when I know that there's nothing that will affect your life and your happiness. Somehow she reluctantly agrees, and so that's basically where the first movie starts again, because now he makes the choice of, instead of choosing his dad and going to the science lab and everything that I've just been explaining for the past 10 minutes, he chooses his mom and diverts into the first movie. that's exactly where this loop comes from, and that's why it's so difficult. It was so difficult for me to understand until like I was really just sitting down and contemplating like what the hell I watched and why everything happened the way that it happened, and why didn't the ghost actually show up. And the reason was because the ghost was now an old lady, and now she actually was able to have a life where she was happy. And you get that just in a line of dialogue that they have together, and that's exactly how the audience knows that they've met before, but they don't know. They live the entire rest of their life without knowing. But the movie is a complete loop, because without the wife knowing about the different universe and sending him there, then it creates a whole entire loop that it's just so weird and so difficult to explain, and the movie is just self-sustaining like that, and it knows that it does that, and it does it extremely well. To go back to my point of reviewing this movie, again, characters, I thought they were astounding on this one. I thought that they did so much better, where they had already introduced good characters and good characterization in the first one. I think that the relationship and the dynamic between the ghost girl and between the protagonist in this one was so much stronger, and it really brought these characters so much more to life, in my opinion. That's just the way that I felt about it. I thought that like their dynamic was so good that whenever she ends up dying, I didn't know that she ended up dying like that. I thought they were going to do it in some different way, but no, the way that she ends up dying, it really like hits hard. Like, is he going to be able to figure out the time travel? Is he going to want to go into a different universe and find a different her, kind of like the mother did in the past movie? And what you get from, what I got from it was that this is the only universe where they meet. This is the only case, because then he goes back in time and tries to erase that from happening. And that's exactly where I think the names come in. To Every You I've Loved Before is a bunch of different cases where he meets the same girl, gets married, has kids, one of them gets attacked, one of the, like, it's every girl, and then this one is just one. To me, the one who loved you. There's only one of them, and that's exactly where this movie, I think, does a lot hard. Like it hits a bit harder, because there are stakes. Because there's no other way that you're gonna get her without doing what you do, and the fact that he was okay with her being alive, as long, like, knowing he would never meet her. Knowing that he would never be happy with her, he decides her life is more important. I think that the movie does a great job at setting up characters, setting up their motivations, and at the end of the day, it does a great job at setting up the first movie, which is something extremely strange and something I never thought I would see, like something as strange of a concept as this. So I thought that these movies were great. The reviews think that these movies are great. So I don't know what you're doing still watching this review. Go watch the movie. They're super interesting. I watched them on Crunchyroll. I don't know if they're on a different streaming platform, but I really recommend these movies. It's a strange ride, but it's a great one. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I hope I didn't confuse a lot of you. If you guys want to see more content like this and more anime reviews, more movie reviews, more TV, more stuff like that, let me know down in the comments below what kind of things you guys will want me to see. I'm just going to be watching a bunch of different stuff and reviewing it. That's exactly what I like doing. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you all in the next one. See ya.